Hello, everybody, and welcome to the call-in show, the long-awaited call-in show. I'm your host, Paul Maharry. I'll be joined shortly by your co-host, Trent Smallwood. We are back. We started this a while ago, didn't quite get to where we wanted to get to. We had some technical difficulties. We had a Skype phone issue, all of the above. But we are back, ready for your calls. We've got a line open, ready to go. We're going to put your name on the screen. We want to hear from you guys about National Signing Day and what it all entails. And I'm going to bring in my co-host here, Trent Smallwood. Trent, what's going on, man?
How you doing, man? What's going on?
I'm glad to be back with you, brother. It's been a long time.
For sure. This is what? Not this season. It was last season.
Yeah, I mean we went through a full pandemic and then some, but we're back at it with each other, back again. So, like I said, Trent, glad to be back on the air with you. Obviously, National Signing Day is today. Roddy, Jake, Dane, and Coach Donnan just went over that a little bit, and talked about what all was happening in the world of National Signing Day. As it went for the Bulldogs, though, it was pretty quiet on the home front. Trent,
Definitely. But it was really coming into the day. It was either Arnold or nothing. So
Arnold or bust, right? Was that what we kind of called it?
yeah. So basically, it was going to be a quiet day, anyways. It was.
Right.
It's been a quiet January. I mean, in this class at least. 2022 has been booming a little bit. The addition of Stockton and Big Bear Alexander today. But as far as 2021, it's been a little quiet.
It has. Georgia did get a commit, like you said, from Big Bear, and we will talk about him. He's got his own logo, Trent. That's going to be the new thing we're going to be seeing with these guys. We did see it with Zamir White a little bit during the season. He had his own logo on his face mask and things of that nature, but Big Bear had his own logo ready to go. Big kid out of Texas, Ryan High School. Trent, what's your first thoughts on him while we're waiting on these calls to come in?
I mean, he is exactly what you want in the interior defensive line. I actually, in my film review today over at UGASports.com, I went over just, how he's a top lineman that you can play anywhere just because of his athleticism, and he's so explosive. He's the guy that you can line up at nose tackle. He's got the strength to take on those double teams, but he's also a guy you can put at three tech, just move all over the defensive line to try to create mismatches. And he also, while he demands double teams, also frees up other guys, such as a guy like Mikael Sherman or somebody like that in the future to get sacked. So he's just a disruptive defensive lineman that's going to take a lot of attention to him and free up a lot of other guys.
I think the first name that kind of popped in my head when I saw him was Jordan Davis. Does he have any resemblance to Davis?
He does. He's a little shorter. Davis is just a giant of a human being. He's like Ben Cleveland. You just never seen somebody that big. Davis like 6'6", 330. He's more of like 6'3", 330. He's more of your prototypical defensive tackle size. More of your when you look at the NFL, you see like the guys that are 6'2", 6'3", 6'4". He's more those type size. So I mean, he's got a college frame that's ready for SEC football right now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you look at him right now. I mean, if you said, hey, look, this kid's in the class of 2021, I'd be like, all right, yeah. I mean, it looks good to me. He's got another year of high school.
You could tell me he's in the class of 2018.
Right. So, guys, if you guys want to call in, our line is open, 706-363-3773. We'd love to hear from you, hear on your thoughts about what National Signing Day was for you. Obviously, it was a lot, there really wasn't anything that went on. Georgia got the commit from Big Bear for the class of 22, but in terms of, class of 21, Terrion Arnold, we'll speak on him a little bit later on, but he was the big fish that Georgia was after. But they ended the class, extremely strong, Trent. I'm going to kind of pull up right here. I know you can't see what I see, but pull up kind of their signing class and what it all looked like. And, I'm looking here at Rivals right now. Just guys from every position that you really would want and that you need. They filled out the linebackers with Munden and Sori, both really highly rated guys, highly up there. A guy that I love, Nyland Green, they got to sign right there back in December. Ingram Dawkins, another guy who I think not a lot of people are talking about, who I think is a really big up-and-comer that could help out. And then you've got the likes of Amarius Mims, Brock, those type of guys. But Trent, as you look down this list here of the commits, who is one guy while we're waiting on our first caller? And like I said, we are taking calls, guys. Just give us a call whenever you can, 706-363-3773. Give us a call. But who is a guy on this list, Trent, that kind of sticks out to you that not a lot of people are talking about? I've got one. I don't want to give him away, and I want to see if you're going to pick him, but I've got one.
Oh, me. I mean, there's just so many, and the thing is, you're looking at you got Brock Vandegrift, and he's not going to be talked about as much because you have your quarterback on campus right now that's going to be the quarterback in 2021, and JT Daniels. The guy I guess I would look at is let's see. I mean, the guy that doesn't get mentioned enough is David Daniel because he was committed for so long, and
very true. Really
good football player. A lot of people kind of wrote that off because he's been committed, for I don't know since he was born, and so a lot of people forget about him in this class. He's a really good football player, and another guy that I look at that as far as contributing early. I know Nyland Green is going to be a guy, but I look at Munden. Georgia really struggled in coverage from linebackers, not necessarily tackling. I thought Monty and Nakobe were really good fundamental tacklers. They're gap fillers. They're they're very good tacklers. But a guy like Munden, I mean, he can cover. He's like a safety playing linebacker, and he's a guy that I think is going to be, especially as a freshman, he might be a situational type linebacker, but I think you're going to see him in a lot of coverage downs. He's a guy that I could see in the field early for the Bulldogs.
Guy, I'm so glad you didn't pick my guy. Great pick, though, Trent. Great pick, really was. But my guy, let's see if I can find him here and pull him up. Where is he? He's been committed for so long I had to scroll. Jonathan Jefferson, man. Dad was a heavyweight boxer. This guy reminds me of kind of like a Malik Herring coming out of high school, smaller school, 6'4", 265, can play D tackle if you'd like to. Just really is going to be my guy, moving forward that I'm going to watch the most. And I'm going to pull us back over live to the screen here, Trent, with both of us on. But, Jonathan Jefferson to me is a guy. And I think Georgia's got guys like that, all throughout this recruiting class. A lot of guys that aren't being talked about a lot. Yes, they are 4-stars, but they're not talked about because, one, for COVID, they weren't on campus a ton. And then for two, you just didn't hear a lot about them because there wasn't much to see, there wasn't many camps to go to. There weren't that many things for us to go out and look at these guys and say, hey, this guy really sticks out. So we really had to stick to our film this year and check these guys out. Another guy that people aren't talking about, Brock Bowers out of Napa, California, already on campus that, he committed. Yeah, we talked about him for a couple of weeks, but after that, it seemed like he was all but gone, So it's one of those things that is interesting to me.
If you and I know a lot of people are dissatisfied with this class, but if you take a look, Nyland Green was, leaning towards Clemson, leaning towards Auburn.
Right.
London was leaning towards Auburn. Ingram Dawkins was a South Carolina lock at one time. A lot of these guys we're not coming here. I mean, we're not coming to Athens. We're not coming to Georgia.
Hey, Trent, we got a phone call, brother. Hate to cut you off. Can we answer that?
Let's get it.
Let's get it in. And we've got our first caller on the line. What's your name? Where are you from?
Hey, guys, it's Brandon. I'm in Athens.
Oh, what's going on, Brandon? How you doing, brother?
Not too bad. Glad to have you guys back on the air this year.
We appreciate it, man. We appreciate it. You called in and told us about some recipes and things like that back in the day, didn't you?
Yeah, I've been known to do that a time or two.
We might have to get you a little segment, man. A little what you cooking this weekend for us. But anyway, what's going on with you, man?
All right, so I guess another signing day is in the books here, and I'm gonna go ahead and rip the Band-Aid off. Ask the question. UGA didn't get the one guy that they were big on. You know who I'm talking about.
Terrion Arnold.
Mr. Arnold there.
Yep,
Mr. Arnold. But, despite that, and apart from that, how would you rate the class overall?
Well, Trent, I'll let you go first on that.
I think from when you're looking at your class, you got to fill your needs, and I think from a needs standpoint, you filled those needs very nicely. I think you got your athletic linebackers that you were looking for. You got your you probably could have used one more defensive back, especially not knowing that you were going to lose as many defensive backs as you did to the draft. But Nyland Green was a huge pickup, and David Daniel that we were talking about. Of course, they've continued to restock on the offensive line. They didn't land a running back, but they actually did. They landed 2 running backs, which are juniors, and they got them to return.
They got Lavoisier.
Yeah, they got Lavoisier, and he's going to be that type of that James Cook type running back.
Right.
Yeah, like a little scat. But you filled your needs in this class, and I think that's the most important thing. I think a lot of people look at rankings and look at having that number 1 class is important, but filling your needs is important. It's not all about going out and landing your 12th 5-star defensive tackle. We've seen what Georgia's done. That they've had number 1 class, but they've also had about 7 5-star outside linebackers that have had to transfer out. It's all about filling your needs and getting the players in there that are going to be ready to jump on the field as soon as these juniors hit the draft next year. So I think they filled their needs nicely.
Brandon, I've got a question for you. What you always talk about cooking, man, and every time you call in, you talk about cooking. So what are you cooking up this weekend, brother?
Oh man, last week I did a little test run with a small brisket flat. I hadn't done any brisket in a while, so I may do a full packer brisket this weekend. See if I can get a long smoke in.
There you go. What you cooking on?
I'm using a pellet grill right now. Seeing
Pellet
if
grill?
I can may switch it up, get a little stick burner in the future, but running on the pellets right now.
Well, hey man, we appreciate you giving us a call. Big friend of the show, man. Put it on your Twitter. Let everybody know we're live. Tell your folks to call in, man. I know you're big on the Twitter world too, so we appreciate you calling in, brother.
Will do.
All
Hey,
right,
thanks for taking my call, guys.
Yes,
See
sir.
ya.
Yeah, Trent. I mean, that's what's on everybody's mind right now. Is obviously the loss of Arnold. I think stings, no doubt about it. Especially because right here we've got a question in the chat over on YouTube. We appreciate it. Robert Piper coming in saying, "Who are some of the corners in the portal that Georgia may need to take a look at?" And before we do that, I think we actually have another phone call, Trent. So we'll get to your question in just a second. And thanks for calling into UGA Sports. Who we got on the line?
This is Bubba.
Bubba.
This is Bubba.
Is that
Yes,
your real
sir.
Bubba? Is that your real name? Don't lie to me.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Y'all remember me from a couple of years back, old Bubba?
I think I do, man. You sound a little younger though.
Nah, man. I'm happy about these dogs we signed today, man. We got us a great class.
Yeah, I think so too. And
I don't see enough fullbacks on this class, but I think we need to get a couple fullbacks on this roster.
I can't tell if you're is he being serious, Trent? I can't tell. Are you serious right now, Bubba? You want some fullback action?
I'm being serious. When we get inside that 20-yard line, we need some fullbacks on that roster to play some smash mouth football.
You want a pain train back there again? Is that what you're asking
that's
for?
That's what I want. But what I don't understand is why this week when Gunnar Stockton committed to Georgia,
right?
Why are all these Disney dogs saying we don't need 2 5-star quarterbacks? You know what Kirby Smart's job is? His job is to bring the best players into Georgia and let things work out. You know how long it took Nick Saban to win a national championship? 8 years. Give Kirby his time. Kirby's he's gonna make Georgia great again.
Trent, what you got there? What you got for Bubba? We appreciate you calling in, by the way, Bubba. Thank you so much, bro.
Yes, sir. I'll hang up and listen.
All right, bro. All right, take it easy.
He's exactly right. I think as long as Kirby's in town, he's going to he's going to recruit. He's a recruiter. He's been kind of I guess you say handicapped this year because of the COVID and not being able to get out and to get out and recruit, get out and go out to California, go out to Texas, do his thing that he's so good at. But he's about the 5-star quarterbacks. Bring them in, and the Fields from situation didn't work out. But
hold on. But I want to stop you there, Trent. Did it not work out? Because at the same end result, Georgia got just as far as Ohio State did with Justin Fields.
From that standpoint, I'm referring
to. Okay. We're not. So you're saying we're not digging that deep in the rabbit hole tonight.
I'm not referring to how far they went. I'm just talking about the controversy behind it.
Right. Of course. I knew you were.
There's the controversy behind it was more the fact that Fromm ultimately that Fields thought he could come in and he thought he could beat Fromm out, and whether he did or didn't, or that's not us to say, but
right.
He chose to take a different direction, and that's what the transfer portal has done. But still, you bring them in, you see who the best quarterback on campus is. You roll with the best quarterback, and if the other decides to transfer out, then that's just what happens. But I would much rather have 2 on campus than 0 on campus. So you bring them in, let them battle it out.
Looks like you got a kid appearance behind you, Trent. We've got a special kid appearance. we have got little Smallwood in the building. Little Smallwood, guys. My man loves recruiting. Okay, he couldn't stay away. But no. On a serious note, I mean, at the same time, you're exactly right. You bring in those guys if they want to come. You're not going to tell Gunnar Stockton to go anywhere. I mean, seriously. Now, I do see the approach like a Dabo Swinney does, where he brings in, he tries to get his 5-star guy, then he gets a developmental guy, and then he goes after his 5-star guy, and he seems to be having some success with that. But every coach is going to recruit differently, and you're not going to tell Gunnar Stockton, hey, man, we've got BVG over here, and we're going to take a developmental guy this year. Maybe if you were in the class of 2023, we'd take you. No, you're going to take that guy. You're going to let JT Daniels be the starter this year, and then you're going to let those 2 guys battle it out. One is a redshirt freshman, one is a true freshman, and you're going to see where the chips land. I think you got 2 really good quarterbacks, and I think that, you kind of let that run as it will. As far as Bubba saying fullbacks, I don't think Georgia's really going to that style of play. Roddy made a good point in the chat over here, Trent. He said UGA's got Clay Webb to play fullback. You made a good point. You were about to say, Trent, before I cut you off, Jordan Davis makes a pretty good fullback as well. We saw him actually play some this year. So, I love Bubba to death, man, but I think the fullback at Georgia isn't coming back anytime soon. Mike Bobo is in Auburn now, not at Georgia, so the fullback is probably made its way out. But we appreciate you giving us a call. Guys, if you do want to give us a call, make your voice heard on this National Signing Day, 706-363-3773. That's, once again, 706. That's your Athens area code for all you folks out of town. And then 363 after that, 3773. You can add us, and we'll get you on the show. Going back to Robert Piper's question over on YouTube, Trent, he said, who are some corners in the portal that we, as in Georgia, may need to take a look at? And Trent, if I have to cut you off again for another call, I'll let you know. But who are some guys that you're taking a look at right now that just overall you think could be good fits? I know if you're a fan of UGASports and you're over on the Vault, every defensive back that enters into the transfer portal, he's getting his own thread on UGASports on the Vault. He's getting his own thread. They're getting asked about. But are there any guys in the portal now that signing day is officially over? Now that Arnold is a Bama commit, or a Bama signee rather, Georgia is going to have to add some guys in that secondary, Trent.
I mean, I think so too. I just do not think that one has popped up yet to the interest.
What about Radley Hines from Oklahoma? He doesn't interest you?
That's a name that popped up recently, and I think that would be an intriguing guy maybe for Georgia to look at. But as far as I think Kirby and Lanning are just waiting for that right guy to pop up. I don't think they're in a rush. I think they're not in a rush to add a guy that they don't feel like fits their scheme. I just think they're waiting on the right guy, and whether that happens or not, I don't know. But there is it is February. It is 7 months till opening kickoff, so I think they have time, and they're just going to continue to evaluate their options, and they'll go from there. But I don't think there's any right now, unless they do pursue that Oklahoma defense back. But right now, I just think they're patiently waiting, watching the portal daily, and And when one pops up, I think they'll strike fast.
Jason Stewart over in the chat over on YouTube, Trent said, "We're back, baby." He said, "Trent, tell Alex to sign Azuna already?" ? And hey, we're open for whatever, my man Jason Stewart. We're open for whatever. We can talk sports with you all day long. He says, "Tell Trent, tell Alex, Double A over there in Atlanta, to sign Azuna already. Also, I'm not mad about Terry, and just score 60 a game like LSU did, and it won't matter." Trent, we've got a phone call coming in. We'll get to that in a second. Thanks, Jason. Appreciate you calling into the show. It's Trent and Paul. Who we got on the line?
Jake Roos, UGASports.com.
My man. I put it in the group chat, and my man answers. Jake, how are the mountains treating you, my brother?
Well, it's cold as a bastard up here, man. I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's been ridiculous. At least the wind's not howling, but I'm taking a little post signing day jaunt down to go see my dad in Gulf Shores. So hopefully I can break it up a little bit.
There you go, Jake. And I'm assuming that we look good on YouTube. We look okay. I mean, our faces don't, but I'm sure that the program looks all right.
As good as you're going to look.
Exactly. So Trent, Robert Piper says, "Great answer, Trent. Thanks for the answer on that." But we're just talking about signing day, or Jake, or lack thereof. Obviously, with Arnold heading over to Alabama instead of Georgia or Florida, which we had predicted a couple days back. But just your overall thoughts on the class, Jake. I know that a lot of people listen to you on UGA Sports Live, but we might have a different audience than you, man. We're a little bit more rowdy over here on the call-in show. So
yeah, this is like the X-rated show.
This is. It might get us banned off YouTube eventually, but we're gonna try our best not to.
Too hot for TV.
Exactly.
I think that I do think it's a good. I think it's a solid class for sure. I think that it's a situation for Georgia where they feel like they got some difference makers. And really what I think it kind of stands out to me about this class is I feel like you got some guys in this that I would consider maybe developmental prospects, some guys that you don't necessarily have to rely on right away, but you like their upside. Marlon Dean's a guy who comes to mind. Javon Bullard's another. Jackson Meeks, if that kid pans out like you're hoping, I think that could be huge for you. So, I think that that's really the big thing. And then I mentioned this over on the show as well. I think that the other big thing that Georgia fans need to appreciate, what's happening in front of our eyes is I think Trey Scott's really kind of putting himself into the upper echelon when it comes to quality recruiters.
Yeah.
I think that he's had a couple great cycles here, but you want to talk about off to a hot start in 2022, man. The guy is really proven his chops not only as a developer, which is obviously strengthened his case, but I think he's really proven himself as a recruiter too. So I think that that's a huge advantage for Georgia to have a young guy coming in like that.
The Fire Trey Scott train over on the ball.
Yeah. I think the Fire Trey Scott train has gone off the rails. I think that it is no longer in service. And listen, I don't have any expectations that he's not going to have to fight to keep Bear Alexander as part of this 2022 group. I think that everyone assumes that everyone's going to keep pressing. I know Texas A&M feels good about where they stand with him. They've got a lot of connections there as well. So, overall, I think that, like I said, it's a great sign for you. You need a guy like that at a position like that to emerge. And kudos to Trey Scott. I think he deserves a lot of credit for what you're seeing around this Georgia program right now.
I think one thing, Jake, that I mentioned to our history buff, Patrick Garvin, I think I'm correct. I think it's the first signing day in Georgia history they had not signed a player on National Signing Day because they signed everybody early, which I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, no doubt. I think we're used to running around like chickens with our heads cut off,
right?
Or you get one of those George Pickens surprises, and it really shakes the day up. But Georgia, I think working with limited spots, you kind of went into the day with one guy, and I think that now it's all about the transfer portal. I'm estimating about 3 spots left, and wouldn't surprise me to see them all go defensive back. But, some of the luster is definitely taken off of signing day. There's no doubt about it. I mean, December is signing day now. That's what it is. I mean, it's taken the place. And, So February is a little bit less or a little bit anticlimactic compared to what it used to be. But at the same time, I got to tell you, I don't mind keeping track of not having to keep track of 80 people running into one day in February. So.
Do you think, last question before I let you get back to your, what are you drinking on tonight, Jake? What IPA? Triple IPA? Quadruple, quad IPA? What is it?
I'm hoping I can find my way into a little IPA here. I got to see what's in the fridge. I've been putting the herd on in the lead up to signing day. So, we may have to restock our funds there.
I totally forgot my question, honestly, because I was so worried about what IPA you were going to pick, and you didn't pick one. You kind of threw me off. Trent, you got anything else for our man Jake?
I was going to tell Jake, what I'm excited about is the fact that Kirby's trying to stay in state in this 2022 class. We might be able to go watch some high school games next year and actually see somebody that we that's coming to Georgia. Not really.
Well, so. I hope he goes out to Vegas again. Personally, I enjoyed that trip, but I think that
Indiana. That's what you got to do.
No, I think I think you're right, and we talked about it on the show earlier that it's a situation I think for Georgia where it's the smart play, right? I mean, you've got all these guys, they've been shut up in their homes. They've been close to home. They haven't been able to get out and take trips, but they've had a chance to see Georgia, a lot of them. And I think that's a real impact maker for a lot of these kids. They don't have a lot to compare it to. And, certainly things can change if the visit schedule reopens. But at this juncture, that's anybody's guess when that's going to happen. I think that they're off to a super hot start. And, personally, I think that they can continue to just build off of what they've already gotten because, like I said, they're on fire, and I think that they can keep this roll and this momentum going, especially in state where there are still some fantastic players left on the board.
And also in a class that that you need elite wide receivers in this class, it's big to get Gunnar Stockton, like a name quarterback like Gunnar Stockton on board to help with that push to land those elite wide receivers.
Yeah, I mean, the way I was looking at it, I mean, going into this year, you couldn't have convinced me that Georgia could pull a guy like Denylon Morissette out of Brookwood unless you get Gunnar Stockton. And he himself said that. I mean, he said, look, if that happens, suddenly I'm looking a lot harder at Georgia. I think that, this is a kid who, right in the thick of things with Alabama, grew up in Alabama, lifelong Alabama fan, whole family's Alabama fans, but suddenly you bring in a face like that and, to get your offensive side of the ball rolling with a guy like that. And I encourage people to go read the report Chad wrote on the Hustle 7 versus 7 practice the other day. Sounds like Gunnar Stockton only up from here. So I don't think we've seen the last of maybe his ascent in the rankings.
Right.
Well, Jake, man, it has been a pleasure. Always is. Hopefully we can get back together here soon, man. But your voice just is like almost, when it comes through on a cell phone, through a radio program. I mean, have you looked into like potentially narrating books?
Dulcet tones, right? I mean, yeah.
It just sounds great, man. So I want to appreciate you calling in, man. I'm hoping we can get you more on the show, and you're doing a great job out there for us, and continue to keep rocking it, my brother.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Love you guys, and good luck. Everybody, make sure you're calling in on these guys. Give us some shit while you're at it for me.
We're going to get kicked. I'm telling you. I think Roddy's watching right now. We're already demonetized for sure, but we appreciate it. All right, Jake Roos, everybody. See you, bro. Hey, Jake does a killer job for us, man. He is the man, but he made some great points. I mean, you open up so many possibilities with getting Gunnar Stockton, like he said, with a ton of guys in the class of 2022 that you wouldn't probably normally get. So even if, I mean, and we're looking so far into the future here, folks, but let's say even if Gunnar Stockton were to transfer, and I don't think that's the case. I know so many people have that on their minds that one of the two is going to transfer. He is going to help you bring in a pretty killer class. Even if that happens, I don't think it is, but I'm just saying. We've got a couple of questions coming in over on YouTube. Roddy said, "What's with all the beards? We've just been quarantined up, man. We're just living the beard life." But Jason Stewart, I want to get back to this, and I do see your question, Carlton, about the UGA basketball, and we will touch on that. But he said, Trent, tell Alex Anthopoulos to sign Azuna already, man. What's going on?
Well, I mean, I think Double A is waiting to see if I think he's waiting to see if National League is going to have that DH because it's. Did they ever come to conclusion on that?
I know it's not. They have not said yet what's going to happen.
Well, see, I don't think. Do you want Ozuna in the outfield? I think that's the key.
I wouldn't mind it if it gives somebody behind Freddie to finally put somebody like he did last year through a whole season.
I love his bat. I love his his attitude in Atlanta. I think he was a good leader. I think he was good for those young guys to have in the clubhouse. I think defensively he hurts you if you do not have that DH, but. It just depends on that the contract that he's wanting is it's up there and he's going to be offered that from no doubt an American League team. So I think AA is probably waiting on the DH, but to see if National League will have that DH. But
if they do, man, even if they don't, man, I say bring him back. Pache can cover center and left field for you. Don't worry about it. We got another question coming in. From Carlton Estes. Appreciate the message over here. He says, can I touch on UGA basketball, or is this the wrong thread going back to UGA sports? Absolutely, man. Nothing's off the table here, brother, like Roddy said. He said, I don't understand how UGA and Georgia Tech basketball is mostly pathetic for the past 20 years with all the talent here. Neither do we. Is that, pretty much, right, Trent? I don't know, man.
Recruiting in the state of Georgia is all about relationships.
Right.
I think Crean has done he had a number one pick. He's obviously had a great history of coaching, but him being a non-Georgia guy is kind of if you want to recruit the state of Georgia, you're going to have to bring in a guy like Jonas Hayes or somebody like that to kind of has those connections that can land those top tier prospects. And until that day comes, I think Georgia Tech's going to continue to struggle. College basketball is all about having the players. It's all about
It's not so much about X's and O's. It's more about Jimmy and Joe's.
I mean, look at Kentucky.
Right.
I wouldn't list him as a top tier coach. He's a top tier recruiter, and as long as he's a top tier recruiter, they're going to be pretty good. They're struggling this year, I guess, because he's having to coach, but. He's when you start landing those elite Georgia kids, when you can start getting the top 4 out of 5 from state or top 3 out of 5 from state, you're gonna start winning. Until you have that day, it's just not gonna happen.
Right. So the chat is starting to bump here, man. Jason Stewart, Robert Piper, Carlton Estes, all in here just chatting together. We appreciate it, guys, so much. Get on the air with us, guys. 706-363-3773. But in the meantime, Jason Stewart said, I'm assuming coaches don't even worry about February anymore, right? And he's talking about National Signing Day. I think coaches do. I think this one was just so different in the sense that you had COVID, you had kids wanting to kind of lock in their spots, especially with how this portal was going to roll out and the extra year of eligibility. I think a lot of kids wanted to kind of lock in, get in, know that they fit in and not move too much. We didn't see near as many decommits this year as we have in years past. We didn't see near as many guys waiting, like you said, until February. I don't think that's going to be the case moving forward. I think that next year we'll get back to kind of, it's still going to be a lot of kids enrolling mid-year, but I think you're still going to have more kids moving back to February like they were in years past. I think this was just a strange year. You had, like I said, you had COVID, and then you also had the transfer portal open up. You had a lot of things, and you had the extra eligibility year if seniors wanted to stay around. So I think that's kind of why, Trent. Am I off base on that, or I think that's pretty accurate?
No, and it's also about managing your numbers. How many you can bring in early enrollees.
Right.
How many guys are leaving in December? How many guys are leaving early for the draft? You still can only have 85 on scholarship. This is kind of a different year where you're being able to add that extra year eligibility. But it's just so hard to manage December, and this just happened to be a year where they could bring in 20 guys and however many early enrollees, 17 or whatever they brought in.
It was almost all of them, yeah.
So I think with those remaining numbers, you work the transfer portal from December to June, and that's what's kind of the college football's turned into. Try to bring in all your recruits in December and try to manage the transfer portal, after that. So I don't think it's going to be quiet. I think you'll see February still being something to watch moving forward. But still, it's just I think they're the coaches are going to try to bring in their top tier their players in December and try to manage that transfer portal after that. Because the portal's turned into just as popular as the recruiting trail. I think that's.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we saw a stat today. Texas State signed no high school kids. They signed 0 high school prospects. Texas State. Jake Spavital was the offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, I think, on his last stop. He's now the head coach over at Texas State. Signed 0. I'm holding it up on the Trent, holding up on the screen, Trent. I'm not holding it up on you, but holding it up on the screen. 0 commits from high school prospects. They landed 1 kid from community college and then 11 transfers. So I mean, that just goes to show you how wacky college football recruiting is right now. I don't know how they're really going to survive without any high school prospects, but that's how they want to live. That's how they want to live. We got a couple more questions over here in the chat, Trent. I think we might actually lose you, Trent, in like 6 minutes. We have the free Zoom. So if anybody wants to buy us a Zoom so we don't lose Trent after 40 minutes, we'd appreciate it. But we've got about 4 more minutes with Trent, then we might have to exit out on him. Go to me for a second and then come back. I'll send him another invite. So if we lose Trent for a second, I'll let you guys know, and that's why. So we've got some questions. Robert Piper said, I agree. Georgia had a great class, and I will not complain. But how much do you guys think Kirby losing FaceTime with the families hurt with players like Arnold, Edwards, and Mason Smith? Yeah, huge, Robert. Because I think, honestly, Roddy just took my comment here, but had Mason Smith been able to visit UGA, get on an official visit, I really think they had an in with him, Trent. And I think what ended up happening is it was circumstances that kept him in Louisiana.
Yeah, but it goes both ways. If your top tier Georgia guys, you might not ever land Brock Vandegrift if this stuff's not going on.
He might be headed to Oklahoma.
Yeah, you might not land Marius Mims. He might be headed to Alabama. So you gained some guys in the process. You lost some guys in the process, and then it kind of worked both ways. But it definitely did hurt with those out-of-state guys.
Yeah, I think so too. Another question here. Carlton circling back to basketball. He said, how many NCAA tournament wins since 2000 for schools in Georgia as a state overall? It's sad he's talking about basketball still. It is, man. And it's one of those things that, I don't have the answer for you. I think a lot of people wish they had the answer. A lot of people that had a lot more money than us at the University of Georgia, Georgia Tech, Georgia State even, wish they had the answers for Georgia basketball recruiting, but it just seems to not be in the cards right now. Let's see. Jason Stewart, no matter how much Georgia wanted it, Mason Smith was never leaving Louisiana. I don't know, Jason. Like we just said, I think that, had they been able to get him on an official visit, see some home atmosphere for a game with 93K in Sanford, I think it was a lot closer than people really thought. And Trent kind of touched on that as well. Jason Stewart again says, all the stories I've read about Louisiana recruiting, it's impossible to get them out of the state. Not necessarily, and I rephrase that. It is almost impossible, but there are some chances. I think Georgia did have a good chance with Mason. It just, the cards weren't there. And then we've got Dave McMahon coming in, our stat guru, Trent, saying, are the days of short cornerbacks over? It seems like everyone Georgia and alike draft corners that are 6 foot tall. No more Tim Jennings. Or Tim Wansleys is what Dave's saying. I don't know. I feel like there might be a couple corners out there. Radley Hines is one that comes to mind. It's in the portal right now. But in terms of Georgia corners, Trent, it's been some tall guys recently.
Well, I think you're looking at scheme fits. As far as man-to-man corners, you want to look at those 6 foot corners that can match up with the personnel on the other side.
Yeah.
When you have a different system, when you get that zone blitz scheme or that zone scheme, you kind of can still have those 5'10", 5'9" guys in there and work them in that slot a little bit. But as far as your man scheme like Kirby and Saban like to run, having those 5'9" corners going up against 6'5" slot receiver, it don't work out well for you in the man coverage.
Right. Guys, again, line is open, 706-363-3773. We'd like to get you on the show. We've had Bubba call in, talk to us about how Georgia needs to bring back the fullbacks and the pain trains. We had Brandon call in, talk about his what did he say? He smoked a butt last week, and he has a pellet grill. Jake Roos called in, his lovely tone of voice, putting us to just a nice mood overall. He said he's going to find some quad IPAs and get down dirty tonight. Guys, we're back. Myself, Paul Maharry, along with Trent Smallwood. Trent, are you in a closet right now?
No, I'm in my office. I just don't have anything on the walls.
But why is your door so close to? What are the dimensions of your office?
It's not really.
Okay. So it's really a figment of my imagination. I feel like your office is like 2 by 2.
No.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure on that. I wanted to let the people know because it felt like you were in a closet. We got somebody calling in, Trent. Let's buzz them in. Age, sex, location. Where are you from? Name. How's it going? Hello? Okay. So it's really a figment of my imagination. I feel like your office is like... I think we lost him there, unfortunately. I think I might have scared him off with the old ASL line from AIM there. If that was you, give us a call back. I promise we don't bite too hard. Jason Stewart said, with Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis both back, it definitely makes me feel better about missing out on Smith. Now, if George can hold on to Tyree West and Bear, then George will be fine. We got another caller calling in, Trent. We'll touch on that from Jason in just a second. Hey, welcome to UGA Sports Call-In Show. Who we got on the line?
This is your boss. Calling to fire both of you.
Oh boy, is this? We've got Roddy Nabolsi. Let me put his name in here. It might burn the screen, folks.
My video just went off.
Yeah. What's going on, Roddy?
Not much, guys. I'm glad y'all are doing this. I've always liked our call-in shows. I think you guys do a great job, and I was going to call up and give you 9 types of help because that's what I do. I can't let anybody get content on this UGA sports staff. I mean, Georgia's never content. They're always working the angles and the roster management and the deals. You noticed they finally announced that Will Muschamp is part of the staff. You know,
right? Yeah, we've had that news. What for? How long, Roddy? I don't know. Not to toot our own horn or anything, right?
Well, no. I mean, we heard about it in December that it was coming, and then when it happened in January, we reported it. Then Kirby said, "Well, no, that's not happening. He's not officially here, or he's not here." We're like, "Oh, he's just visiting." I'm like, "Okay, well." Then wait, that's not what we're hearing. And of course, we're not going to disagree with Kirby. Kirby says he's visiting, so there's obviously something up. But then they worked it out, and now he's part of the staff. And we were talking on UGA Sports Live about Will Muschamp being a part of it. And I thought, this is a great guy's brain to pick because Georgia leads the season off next year with Clemson. When he's over at South Carolina, he had to play Clemson every year, and so he could say, yeah, hey, we tried this, it didn't work, or we tried that, and it did work, and here's some of Dabo's tendencies, and here's some things that, they like to do. And then, of course, Coach Donnan was like, yeah, well, this is a guy who's coached in the East, at Florida and South Carolina 8 of the last 10 years. I'm like, oh, crap, yeah, this is a guy that knows the personnel at South Carolina. He knows, he's familiar with facing Vanderbilt and playing against Missouri and Tennessee and all these other teams. I'm like, well, that's a good brain trust to have back there. So
here's something
between
on
you
that.
and the Buster Faulkner, guys like that, it's going to be pretty good. I think it's big news, and then of course he cemented a lot of his other guys got raises to keep the staff in place. So I know you guys were talking about players earlier, but I'm kind of excited about where Georgia is from a coaching standpoint. The fact that you still have Del McGee and Dan Lanning, well, as long as you have Dan Lanning, and Glenn Schumann's still there, and Matt Luke. I think that he's got a pretty good coaching staff to take them a good ways in the upcoming season.
I think you brought up a good point, Roddy, and I bring this back to you with Muschamp and Clemson. With us finding out Muschamp's making $300,000, right? That's the number.
Yep.
Yeah, so $300,000 to beat Clemson and potentially with that schedule go undefeated. I'm assuming that Georgia weighed its pros and cons there and figured that was well worth it.
Yeah, I mean, if you can beat Clemson,
right,
yeah,
of course.
It would pay for itself, if you were to make it all the way through. But think about this: how many times are you going head to head with Clemson? You want Brian Breezy, you want guys like that. You want the Trevor Lawrences of the world. if all of a sudden you're like, yeah, we went head to head and we're in the playoffs and they're not. Especially, I guarantee you, if Georgia beats them but loses the SEC championship game, they'll be able to say, look, yeah, but you're looking at your ACC champions over there. We beat them during the season. So we may have lost to Alabama in the SEC championship game, but we beat somebody that you're about to put into the playoffs. So we deserve to be in there too. Or vice versa. It's a situation where if you lost to them and they're trying to decide between are you putting Georgia or Clemson into the playoffs, and even though you're the SEC champs, you're like, well, I don't know. They didn't beat Clemson when they had the chance. So it's
right.
Anything you can do, any advantage you can get, I think it's worth it. Plus, again, it's not just beating Clemson. That $300,000 is going to buy you a lot of self-scouting, game plan development, tendency tracking against all the other teams in it. People say what you want about Will Muschamp. I've not heard people that I trust say he's a bad coach or he's a bad recruiter. They said he hasn't had a quarterback or he hasn't had an offense or he hasn't had this, but I do not hear bad things about him. People complain about how he yells at players sometimes. There's great clips of him just yelling at guys.
Losing his mind.
But again, no one's saying he doesn't know what the hell he's doing. So
I think like you said, at $300,000, it's a steal. Especially if you're able to help him beat Clemson, if he's able to help you beat Clemson, and then the road is only easier from there. So,
it buys you a loss later on. Let's say you beat Clemson, but then again, you lose the SEC championship game, or you lose a regular season game. It's like, so you go back a few years ago where you lost that crazy game to South Carolina, game you should not have lost, and you're like, and it was in the rain and miserableness
terrible,
of that game. And that's one that that was an albatross around your neck. Let's say they have a slip up somewhere along the way, get a quarterback hurt or 4 turnover game. It happens, it's happened to everybody. But you still got that big Clemson win, on your resume. So
right.
When playoffs come around, it's like, yeah, we got them beat. So if you get him, that $300,000 is money well spent.
Roddy, we appreciate you calling in, my friend, my boss. Mentor, appreciate you letting us ruin your YouTube channel as well by having our faces on here. Trent, you got anything else to add for the big boss?
No, I'm good.
Y'all can shave too, and I know you're in quarantine, but that doesn't mean they stopped making razors.
Hey, baby, I look good. I look good over here. I don't know about you. I look good.
They didn't have them at Target.
Y'all take care.
All right, see ya. We had somebody calling in while Roddy was calling, so call back if we missed you there. But that was Roddy Nabolsi, the big boss, calling in. Always appreciate him. Glad we are back. Glad we are back on. We got a interesting question in the. I don't know if you're keeping up with the YouTube, Trent, but we got an interesting question from actually Dave McMahon. We were missing a few, but I want to touch this. Dave said. Obviously, with Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp, and Mike Bobo all coaching now, playing in the mid-1990s for the Dogs, which current Dogs will you think will be a head coach in 2040? It's a long ways away, but, they do have a great track record of, coaches, former players becoming coaches. Anybody that just sticks out to you, just about burped up dinner there. Sorry about that, guys. Jake Fromm?
Fromm would be a good, he would be a good one to go with, or
I know I'm putting you on the spot here. Jake Gaines, he's already making his rounds in the Alabama high school football reigns over there. Would be another one that kind of pops in my head.
Who's to say Kirby's not going to be the head coach? Saban's pushing 70.
Right. Well, I think Dave was just asking who, not at Georgia, but just a head coach in general in 2040. I know from every interaction that I've had with him, Chris Smith has always been extremely intelligent. I could see him being a defensive backs coach. I want somebody to clip this too, because I feel like Chris Smith is going to be a coach later on in his career.
the one. He's a
Who'd you say?
so William Poole.
Yeah. Very intelligent defensive back guy that can connect with players.
I look at the guy like Justin Schaefer being an offensive line coach one day.
Yeah.
Uh,
DB over on YouTube said Stetson Fleming Bennett, 2040 UGA head coach.
he asked if the days of 5'9" defense backs are over. I wanted to ask him if the days of 5'9" quarterbacks are over.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Lord, shot a man down in the street, Trent.
It's going to be a trivia question one day. Who is the only quarterback in 2020 to lead Alabama at the half? And nobody's going to know it was Stetson Fleming Bennett.
You're exactly right. Trent, for one thing, I have no idea how you're still live right now. The free Zoom only gives 40 minutes. We are at 50 minutes right now, and you are completely strong on the screen. So thank you, Zoom. You've broke the code, got us the free the premium trial. But anyways, Jason Stewart says, with a big year, Jordan Davis is going to make a lot of money in the draft. And you're exactly right. Yeah.
But look, this is what I was looking at the other day.
What?
How many with the returners and with the guys who are sophomores going to be juniors now, how many first-round picks potentially could Georgia have next year?
Damn.
You're looking at George Pickens. You're looking at J.T. Daniels. You're looking at Jordan Davis.
I'm counting for you. Keep going. I'm counting. I got it on the screen. I'm counting.
You're looking at a guy like Lewis Seen, who's got a prototypical safety body.
Nakobe Dean.
They could have 5, 6 first-round picks.
Jamari, 6. Guards don't really go that high. Whatever. Yeah.
But still, he could be a second-round pick. But you could have a lot of guys up there. I still think that the way the NFL is these days, you're looking at as far as what they want in a running back these days. I think James Cook is a guy that NFL people they're gonna drool over. I mean, just over his ability to make plays in open space and catch out of the backfield, and I think he's a guy that NFL guys are gonna want on their teams, especially for a guy like Drew Brees or a guy like who gets their playmaker, Patrick Mahomes, who gets their playmakers in space. You see what McCole Hardman's doing; he's just blowing it up. I know he's a wide receiver, but but the days of the big, it's nothing against Zeus, but the days of that big tank style running back is going away.
DB in the chat says Quay Walker potentially, but Adam Anderson he said as well. Adam's going to be one.
Adam Anderson is going to blow up.
Oh,
that kid.
And we got Dave McStats over here said Georgia's record for first-round draft picks in one season is 3 back in 2018. It depends. It really, I think, I know we're getting ahead of ourselves, but I think it really all depends on JT. If JT has a killer season, you got JT, George for sure, I think is going to be a first-round wide receiver. And then you could, find a guy like Adam Anderson who could also be in the first round as well.
I think 4 guys to look at just off the top of my head today would be George, JT,
Jordan.
Hey,
we got somebody calling back in, brother. I think it's the same guy that was trying to beep him when Roddy was on.
My number 4 would be Lewis Seen. So
There's 4 right there. Hey, welcome to the show. Who we got on with us?
Hey, this is Jim Donnan here.
No way. What's going on, Coach?
I was trying to get in, but Roddy's been on the air for 1 hour and 15, and now he gets on for 5 more minutes. So
I know I saw you beeping in, and Roddy wouldn't be quiet.
I just wanted to tell you, I think it's great that you guys have this show, and I'm sure all our fans are looking forward to it. And it's good to have good voices like yours. And I thought maybe a good question for you would be for Trent and you to maybe break down Clemson's team that's coming back, since that's our first game next year. And I know both of you know a lot about them. And so I'll get off and not talk like Roddy did and let you answer it.
Coach, before you go, I brought this up to Roddy too, with Will Muschamp officially being announced today as an analyst and bringing him in. Is paying him $300,000 to potentially beat Clemson is a no-brainer, right? With the knowledge that he has.
Yeah, I think it's just a token salary there, really. Basically,
right.
Got $12 million payout, so he's got a cost of living type salary, but we mentioned on the show tonight, he's just very adept guy, a really good in-game manager, to have in the press box or on the sideline or however how you want to use them. These analysts can't really do a lot as far as being on the headsets, but they can look at things, and that's another way. Plus, coaching the coaches, that's one thing that Nick had that Kirby saw. He got guys like Joe Pendry and guys that coached with him a long time going around watching the coaches and reporting to Nick about things that maybe would help them a little bit, and it's just another set of eyes on that has looked at the conference, not only Clemson game, but Kentucky, Vanderbilt, any of these. Of course, you got new coaches there, but got a really good beat on these, these Eastern Conference teams, and I think plus it's good for him, for a life reset here. Yep. To be around a guy like Kirby that he trusts and get his family situated, which, hey, people got families, and he's got a son in high school that's really critical for him to have a good couple last years, and no better place than in Athens. So I'm happy for Will too.
Coach, before we let you go, because I really don't want you to go, but I know you don't want to take up all the airtime, even though we would certainly let you.
No, I think we got fans in here don't want to hear me, but what else you want to ask me?
I got one more question for you. So with this whole analyst role now, we saw Butch Jones do it with Nick over in Alabama. Now we see Muschamp with Kirby. Was this a big thing when you were a head coach, like former coaches coming, or is this kind of like the new age kind of restart your career type thing and then go from there?
We didn't have the budgets back then to bring in guys and pay them just to be analysts, but we always tried to help coaches that were kind of, in between jobs that, didn't work out like they thought should. I know Pat Watson came here one year when he was out at Georgia Tech, and I'd worked with him in North Carolina, and he worked with our team over here, and then he got on full time right after one of our coaches left, and I've always tried to use people like that, but nothing to the extent that it's out there now. And I think the one thing that people don't realize is it's kind of like going to work as an intern, early in your career, and then hoping you can move up. Some of these guys are coming as analysts to try to get in a winning program like Georgia, like Buster Faulkner did, who's very highly qualified, like Jay Johnson did, like Tyson Summers did. These are very well qualified guys. The analyst last year that was with the offense is now in Northern Iowa. I mean, there's two of our special teams analysts went to Southern Mississippi full-time coaches. One of our defensive analysts went to Louisiana Lafayette as a linebacker coach, now as a defensive coordinator at Southern Miss. So we're kind of a real factory for putting people out here with Kirby. I mean, people realize that he's got that Bama system that down pat, that he's got his own tree that he's using, and he and Lanning and Schumann are putting them out.
Well, Coach, we would love to hear from you on every show. We're going to open up the phone line for some fans to call into the show, and I'm sure everybody in the chat on YouTube is saying they could have a beer with you, Coach, and just listen to your stories, and we're the same way. So we appreciate you calling us in.
Yeah, let's do that, because I was going to give you this one recruiting story tonight,
heck yeah, no, we're down. Bring it in. What you got?
But I want to make sure that Trent answers the Clemson question when I get off, okay?
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Trent, is Trent awake over there? He hadn't talked to me yet.
We don't know. We let him do his thing.
All right. But he came with some heavy stuff there on Bear. That was good. I was glad to see that. But one time I had this guy that I had to hide out, I thought, and I couldn't back then. Other coaches to try to see him, and so I had this kid in Orlando that I had one of the teachers, the guidance counselor, was a good friend of mine, and I said, "Look, we need to hide this guy out. We can't leave him at his house tonight, because if this other school gets to him, we won't have a chance." And So she said, yeah. I said, I'll let him spend the night over here and everything. And she and her husband. So they took him to the bowling alley and kept him to the bowling alley till it closed at 1, and then took him over to their house. And then I went by there at 6:30, and then went over and picked him up, and then took him to his mother's house, and then signed him at 7. So we hit him out all night at the bowling alley. So it was a pretty good move.
Oh my
All
goodness.
right.
Hey, Coach, take care. I'll definitely hold Trent to for that. I'll hold him to analyzing Clemson the first game.
All right. You guys have a good show. Thank you.
Yes, sir. See ya. Man, I mean, first show back, Trent, we got Coach Donnan calling in, man. I mean, dude, did you hear the story he just said? Like, he had a kid that he wanted so badly that they hit him at a bowling alley. Then Coach went and picked him up, and at 6:30 took him to his mom's house and got him to sign at 7. Dude, tell me Coach Donnan is not one of the most badass dudes. Like, by far, his stories, you could write a book with him, they would be a bestseller. But, Trent, take it away. Coach wants to hear about Clemson, man. What's his first game going to look like, dude?
I mean, Clemson's talented. They lost a lot of players. You lose Trevor, but you got Uga, whatever his name is.
Are you stuttering, or are you? Lord have mercy, okay?
Ugalele.
Yeah, DJ Uga. Oh man, I'm gonna mess it up too. DJ U.
Yeah, just say U.
Yeah.
They got him coming, and I think they got him some valuable playing time last year when Trevor was out. Him going to up to Notre Dame and playing in that game, although they lost. But he had a couple starts under his belt, and I think that helps. The same with JT Daniels coming back for Georgia. The first thing I look at wide receiver is DJ Williams. He was a guy out of Alabama that was kind of passed on by a few of those Alabama teams, and I'm not sure Georgia pursued him that hard, but Clemson dipped in there and grabbed him, and he's a player to watch. He's going to be really good. He's that next good Clemson wide receiver. He stood out this year. But the one thing I question is the defensive side of the ball for Clemson. They've had their ups and downs over the last couple of years, and they got talented guys. They got KJ Henry. I know all the Georgia fans remember him on the trail.
Yep.
And they got a talented group that they just seem to struggle, especially down the stretch this past year. And this is the opportunity for JT Daniels, especially with Clemson, losing their running back, losing their quarterback, losing some playmakers on that offense side of the ball for Clemson. This is the opportunity for Georgia to go in and make an early statement on the offensive side of the ball. Georgia's got a lot of returners. They return everybody besides Trey Hill. They return everybody on the offensive side of the ball, and this is kind of a statement game because you got a Clemson defense that is talented but hadn't put it all together. Didn't put it all together in 2020, and I think that's a matchup to watch. I think you should have some mismatches on the at cornerback with Georgia's wide receivers. I think George Pickens obviously is a mismatch against anybody. And I think where to attack Clemson is over the middle of the field with Darnell Washington. I think that they've had good linebackers, but their linebackers have struggled in coverage a little bit. And I think that's an area where Georgia can really take advantage of that game with a guy like Darnell Washington going over the middle on the offense side of the ball. Georgia, you don't know what to expect with Georgia on defense because they lose so many guys in secondary. You return Lewis Seen, but I think Chris Smith stepped up. That was some valuable playing time for him.
It was very valuable.
With the count going out, and I think he played very well in his time at the end of the season. But I think as far as it's all the offense game's turned into a score. You like Nick Saban said, you win with offense now, and the game's changed, and I think Georgia has an advantage in that area where they're returning basically everybody, and Clemson's losing their starting quarterback and starting running back. So I think there's an advantage for Georgia right there. But that's going to be the game of the night, the game of the day.
Oh yeah, game day for sure. I would imagine.
It's a top 5 matchup more than likely, and I think Georgia's going to be hyped up in the offseason just because of what they have returning on the offensive side of the ball. And Clemson's always, top 5 team, so I think you're going to see maybe a 2 versus 4 or something like that right there in the opening game, and I think Georgia has a chance to really put their stamp on the as an offensive passing team or offensive explosive team right off the bat, and I think they have some advantage and mismatches they can they can go after right there.
We got Chuck Ward coming over here in the chat. He said Clemson returns 10 of 11 defensive starters who got torched in South Bend versus Ohio State. But they do, like you said, return 10 out of 11. Breesy's a problem. Miles Murphy's a problem. I mean, they're really they've got a really good defense. Dabo's a heck of a coach. We all know that. So, like Trent said, Coach Donnan, I know you're probably watching. Trent gave you the analysis. I'll just give you. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I don't think we see exactly what Georgia has in terms of the defensive secondary just yet, who are going to be the 5 guys that are going to be lined up out there starting. That's going to be interesting to follow. That's going to be my storyline to kind of watch and see who's going to be the guys, whether it's through the portal, I think, which we all kind of think and agree on that somebody from the portal is going to have to come to Georgia and start. So I don't think we know who's Georgia's starting secondary is right now. So it's going to be tough to kind of determine who's going to be covering the Justin Rosses of the world and Joseph Nadas and things like that. So that's my kind of piece on it, Trent.
And I think the main question mark is at defensive back is, you have Chris Smith and Lewis Seen, who's likely going to return to safety. You have the Keely Ringo, who's likely going to step in at cornerback. You got some slot corners that can play, that have showed potential of playing. My biggest question.
Brini played pretty good too.
Brini,
bowl game.
You got Brini, you got William Poole, who's played there some. You got some guys who played the position. My main thing is who is going to start opposite of at defensive back.
Keely Ringo.
Yeah, opposite of Ringo. That's going to be the big question mark, and I think that's a position going to be up for grabs. I think Ringo's going to be the guy to step in to be that number 1 guy, but who's going to start opposite him? I think that's going to be the big question mark. And I could see a game where Georgia Clemson, Clemson's talented on defense, but I think Georgia's offense is coming back. I think this could be like a 35-31 type game just for the inexperienced defense that Georgia's going to have.
Yeah. Dave McStat says DJ has 46 career attempts against ranked teams. 44 of those came against Notre Dame in their first matchup. So Robert Piper chimes in, says, Chuck, you are right. Clemson struggled second half of the season. Wonder if there's anything to the sign stealing. They seem to not be lined up and ready a lot after teams caught on to that. It could be. I still think, overall trying to get Trevor back in there after COVID and things of that nature might have messed with him a little bit. Guys, I want to take one more phone call before we get out of here. So 706-363-3773. Give us a call. Want to get one last call in from you guys for a good National Signing Day closure to Georgia's. I say good. Nothing really happened today, but we overall final kind of impressions of the class, Trent. I think they got everything that they needed. I think they got everything that they could have hoped for at every position. Obviously, with limited resources, getting kids on campus, having guys like Mason Smith not being able to come to an official visit, things of that nature will be the what ifs of this class. Terry and Arnold would have been the cherry on the top for them, and it didn't happen. But I don't think Kirby and company, especially with a die at defensive backs coach now, is done. I think the portal is going to be something that we watch heavily over at UGASports.com. But overall, Trent, I think it was a heck of a class. You get your future quarterback, you get your future left tackle, you get your future a bunch of guys that we mentioned throughout the show. And just overall adds true depth to a team that didn't need a ton of it because they already have a lot of it, but just adds to it just makes the team even more well-rounded. And I really, truly, truly believe that if they're able to get past Clemson in the first game, they have a good chance to make it to the end.
Oh, no doubt. They've the class kind of lost some of its flavor with the signing all these guys early, but it was a very good class. It was, when you land a caliber offensive line, you landed once again, and you land a caliber quarterback, you just landed, and you land the caliber linebackers. If somebody would have told uh, if somebody would have told the Georgia fans that you're going to land 2 of the 3 big inside linebackers in this class of that what you were going after was Sorey and the other 2 guys they were going to, but they landed 2 of them, so
Right.
that's huge. That's huge, and Landon. And I know they got some, the projects on the defense line. They got some projects at wide receiver, but you got to bring those guys in, especially as stocked as that wide receiver is, that room is right now. You're not going to necessarily bring in, that those high caliber kids every year at the position when you're 8 deep at receiver. But they took an up and coming kid in Jackson Meeks who just lit it up this year after overcoming his injuries throughout his high school career. And then the other wide receiver they landed was
Donnan Mitchell. I've got it pulled up right here on the screen. Yeah. So overall, Trent, I mean, you get 2 wide receivers, you get a tight end out of California, you get Carroll at running back, you get Brock Vandergrift at quarterback, then you go right down here to offensive line. You got 4 offensive linemen: Micah Morris, Fairchild, Wilson, and Mims. Kirby raved about Wilson in his post game, his National Signing Day press conference today. We already know about Mims. We already know about Micah Morris, Fairchild, state champion wrestler. Then you go to linebackers. You got Chaz Chambliss, who's a kid that's already 240 pounds at 6'3". You got Jamon Dumas Johnson, who nobody talks about, coming out of Baltimore, playing in a tough division up there in football. I think he's going to be a welcome sight at that middle linebacker, add a lot of depth. You got Munden, you got Sorey, 2 really big-time outside linebacker threats that can rush the passer in different ways. Then you go to the defensive line. Jonathan Jefferson, who I don't think Trey Scott gets enough credit for getting this kid to stay in state. I think that Georgia got on him extremely early. As you can see on the screen right here, signed, he didn't sign, but he committed back March 23rd, 2020. And never wavered. I think he's a kid that had we had camps and had the opportunity to really evaluate this kid, he would have jumped even more than a 5'9", 4-star on Rivals. Marlon Dean, IMG Academy product at defensive end, and then Ingram Dawkins, a guy that 6'6", 300 pounds. Other recruiting sites have him ranked as I think a 5-star. He's a guy that's going to be up there. David Daniel, you're glue to this class. Javon Bullard, the guy that doesn't get talked about much, way down from Milledgeville, Georgia. Kamari Lassiter, another guy at defensive back who doesn't get talked about a lot. And then Nyland Green to wrap it all up, Trent. But Kirby said it. He made a great point in his press conference today. He said, look, I've got us back on the screen now, Trent, just so you're aware. But he said, look, defensive back for us is a developmental position, is what he said. And with guys like Kamari Lassiter, Javon Bullard, they're going to be developmental guys. But Chris Smith was a developmental guy, and he stepped in and stood in Richard LeCounte's shoes and filled them quite well. So you get a guy like Nyland Green to come in who could potentially step in as a freshman. Don't get your hopes up. I think that's what Kirby was kind of saying today. But I do think we'll see him in the rotation as well. So Chuck Ward comes in over on YouTube, says something good happened. Lots of Trey Scott haters had to eat some crow with 2 5-star defensive tackles committed. He's talking about Big Bear and, Tyree West. You're exactly right, Chuck. We talked about Trey earlier in the program. I think he's really kind of turned the corner. Jason Stewart said, hey, guys, just want to tell you thanks for the great return of the call-in show. We appreciate you too, brother. If Georgia beat Clemson at the beginning of the season and is straight to the SEC championship, you're exactly right. I echoed that and didn't even mean to take credit for it, man. I think that wraps it up for us, Trent. We've been on for a little while, over an hour now. First call-in show back. We're going to try to nail down a time that works best for us at least once a week to come on here, talk to you guys. We really want to listen to what you guys have to say. This show is for you guys. We have the podcast with Coach Donnan, Roddy, Jake, and Dane, where they get to talk. Trent and I can talk as well, but we really want to hear from you guys and what all you have to say about Georgia football and what's on your mind. So, Trent, for myself, great first call-in show, man. I know you couldn't see my face, but probably saved you there. But I think we had a really good first show. Robert Piper, we appreciate you as well, man. And guys, make sure to turn on your follow the little notification button so you guys will know when we're live over on YouTube. And like I said, Trent and I will be putting out something in terms of, what day, what time will work for us. We wanted to do a special show tonight for National Signing Day, but we'll have a regularly timed show throughout the week. And Trent, you got anything else, my brother?
No, I'm just looking forward to the 2022 class now, and hopefully getting out and seeing some of these kids and being able to have some camps and getting back that Rivals Challenge and getting out there and doing some work.
Exactly right. So everybody that called in, we appreciate it. Coach Donnan for calling in as well. Roddy, Jake Roos, Brandon with the Smoker, Bubba. I'm sure I'm missing a couple others. We appreciate you guys so much. We hope to hear from many more of you guys, and we will be signing off for the evening. Much love to you guys.